Hi, I'm Bill, and I'm working with Annie and Giles. Some of you obviously know me from the sessions. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to do a quick overview of the last 8 sessions. Also, I may as well introduce you to Jasper. He is my lovely, lovely lurcher, and he just thought he'd kind of do a photo bomb of the session. So first off, let's look at it from this perspective. What have we done? We've done 1.5 weeks. We've done 8 sessions. We've looked at multiple models, from Acker's model of brand personality to POE to POSI, okay? And a slight difference in what it means there. We've looked at CAN. We've looked at the 7 stages, 7 levels. We've looked at 4 stages. We've looked at multiple definitions. We've looked at brands, brand relevance, integration, communication. We're looking at lots of things. So what did we do on the first session, day 1, as it were? This was an introduction, obviously, to the assignment, and it was an introduction to marketing communications. Marketing communications. What is marketing communications? Well, Jasper, what is it? Oh, I don't know. He doesn't know. But let's be honest, you do. It's all about differentiating. It's all about informing. It's all about persuading. The marketing mix. We studied the marketing mix. We looked at the promotional mix, marketing mix, sales, promotion, direct marketing, advertising, point of sale, PR, exhibitions, word of mouth. This is online and offline, above the line, below the line, and through the line. We looked at integrated marketing comms. So what else did we look at there? We also looked at the sender, and there's the receiver. And what happens? There's that noise in the middle. The noise is competitors. It's also just everything else which gets in the way. So we have to think about that. Remember, we also looked at the brand touchpoint wheel, e.g. pre, purchase, post. What is everything? What's going on with all those elements? Absolute necessity to understand all of those parts at each time. Session 2. This came along and we looked at something which was really fascinating. It was brand relevance. And brand relevance, now what was brand relevance? There were 4 parts to this. It was, you've got to resonate. You've got to be responsive. You've got to reinvent. It's got to be real. Has to be authentic. If it's not authentic, no one will buy it. Brands. We talked about brands. What are they? For me, an easy way to look at this, and I know there's lots of ways of looking at it, but the brand here was to promise, to deliver. It was to manage expectations. So we looked at those things. We also looked at the classic super brand and what a super brand is. Now, let's think about it. A super brand. A super brand is Apple, yes. And a super brand is now more of a belief than the actual elements of things, what it can do for you. You believe it's going to do you the service and do you better than you might otherwise think. So that was day 2. Day 3. Oh, we also, before I go on to day 3, before I forget, we looked at Acker's and the brand personality. Day 3. We looked at brand communications. And we looked at little moments, didn't we? Look up to the sky. You saw that whole thing. Is it a bird? Oh, it's a plane, certainly with British Airways. Oh, and it's a solar eclipse. And that was with Oreos. Really beautiful pieces of moment marketing. And these things, taking a natural event or taking an event which is occurring and making it yours. Owning it. And that's what both campaigns did beautifully. They owned those pieces. Day 4, trends. And we looked at trends and we looked at environmental stuff, we looked at culture, we looked at traits, we looked at behaviours, we looked at insight, we looked at research. And we looked at how to change those behaviours. And all I think about is the train line and the sheep going by. And do you follow the sheep? Do you follow the herd? You know, and then with COVID-19 now, it's the, herd immunity. No, not so sure here. And of course, then, if you're talking about washing our hands in COVID, well, good old playing with chalk and Savlon and how it changed the behaviour of kids. Beautiful pieces of work. We also are looking at it from the perspective of how do customers select? How do they use the products and services? How do they think? How do they feel? How do they reason? Day 5. Day 5 is fun too. Day 5, communications brief. What is it? Jasper, what is a communications brief? Now, if he still doesn't know, you need to know. What is it? What does it do? Why is it important? You know, you've got to think about it in terms of, what's the background, the objective, the target audience, the reaction to the target audience, the proposition, the tone of voice, the requirements that are needed. Then, of course, sometimes we dare you to do this. Tear up the brief. Be bold. Take risks. Go forward. Day 6. This is where things started to change. This is where we asked you, instead of looking at really theories and instead of looking at models you could just apply, we're now taking you into a more cerebral type of activity. And those activities started with that little classic in terms of integration. And that integration here, we're talking about 2 + 2 = 5. E.g., working together will get you more. And then, of course, I told certainly my lot that one thing I believe when it comes to 2 + 2 = 5, e.g. synergy, there's another element to this, and that is finding the common ground plus synergy means you can engage and start a conversation. This was the cerebral side of things. We're now looking at advertising-led integration. Advertising-led integration, hey, that's, the matching luggage, and off you walk to the airport, as it were. Then you've got brand-led. And that's brand-led orchestration more so, because the message is it's the brand essence which you're staying true. You might change the creative, and that because it could be for reasons like different media, certain types of things don't work on that particular media. Hey, these things happen. We also looked at participative orchestration, and this was about co-creating, and dialogue. And a dialogue outside. So there we have that whole piece. Beautifully done. We're now going to be looking at those through days 7 and 8 of how they'll relate to 7 and 8. And 7 and 8, what was day 7? Day 7, well, some of you, I'm sure you'll remember, the angel's cocktail, the devil's cocktail. Exciting stuff. We got a lot of fun with that. What is creativity? Hecate said it was an individual thing. White said it was a group thing. Hey, and now you've got to start thinking about what it is, how it works, why it works. And as I said, the devil's cocktail, the angel's cocktail, dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins, all those fun things. And then, of course, you have the bad things, the adrenaline and the cortisol. And that's the devil's cocktail. But all I have to say to you right now, and you'll remember this, is gorilla. You now know what I'm talking about. You also now know what I'm talking about. If I just say surfer, you'll know exactly that too. The thing about that is you can apply the CAN model to both of those beautifully. Okay? And we sum that up with the 7 pillars to put good and great creative work together. Okay. Day 8, content marketing. Now, what is content marketing? Who owns content marketing? How does it happen? Paid, owned, earned, social, shared? POE to POSI. Got to start thinking on those ways. And who would have thought you could have developed and put all your budget into a rubbish cafe? Rubbish cafe. And you paid with rubbish. Absolutely phenomenal. And I think with that, you've got to think about what it did. It was on time. It was on target. It was on message. It was creative. It was content. It was integrate. Beautiful piece. It made people talk. And it's through a lot of shared and earned media. I think to sum up, we just need to say, then we ended with little Annie, the VW. Now, VW gave new lease of life, another 50 years to an old Beetle. Okay, the old VW Beetle. And they gave another 50 years to that. Now think about this. Was the lady who owned Annie a good customer? She'd only ever bought one car from VW. And she'd had it for 50 years. And VW have now made it sort of go on for another 50 years. But of course, the essence here is what a fantastic story. It was evoking because there were so many elements that both shared. And they created that empathy. Again, the CAN model worked absolutely beautifully. And the novelty factor was it was going to go on for another year. You know, connectedness. Oh my goodness, we could all connect with that story, and it connected beautifully with us. I know I did CAN the wrong way around, but who cares? I did say, was she a good customer? No, she wasn't, because she'd only bought one car. But she was a believer. And I think that is where we have to go with that. On that note, have fun, enjoy the assignment, enjoy the next weeks you're going to do. Thank you. Bye-bye. And I'm going to turn it off like this.